Hello, my name's Jade and today we will be discussing House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City series. This is book 1 and it was so good. It's 800 pages long and it's quite a slow burn, to be fair, but because it's that slow burn and it's 800 pages long, we get so much time with our characters. We get to really come to grips with them. We don't know everything yet, I don't think, but we have a strong handle on them and we get to see a lot of character interactions, and the relationships that are establishing in this were so great. There's so many complicated relationships going on and there's so much potential for relationships to grow in so many different ways. It was great. I have no idea how long it's going to be. It's called House of Earth and Blood and there's 4 different branches of species, if you will. There's all kinds of different species of things in this universe. Humans, there's fae, of course, there's angels and archangels, there's vampires and shifters and witches and necromancers, and they kind of all line up in different houses. They allege themselves with different houses. Well, they don't allege themselves, they're kind of put into different houses. We never found out why. I've not even thought about this, who set this up? Why is this a thing? Maybe it's like a rank, probably, but no, because House of Earth and Blood comes first in the order and that's not first in the pecking order, so I don't know what's going on there. Why are there houses? Is it easier for the archangels to control everyone else? Archangels are in charge of all of the other creatures. Humans are at the very bottom, but they were here first. It used to be just like an ordinary planet with humans. It's called Midgard, the planet. It sounds like something from Norse mythology. Is it? I should look into that. And then a rift opened up in the sky and creatures from all kinds of different worlds came in and took over. Archangels are the most powerful, and so they decide that they're going to be the ones that are in charge. Anything that's kind of magical-esque and not human is called Vanir, and then you have humans at the very bottom. And there is kind of a pecking order within the Vanir as well. For instance, Fae are quite close to the top because they're quite powerful. They're kind of chummy with the angels, I guess. They're in the same house. Anyway, my whole point with this was that this is called House of Earth and Blood, and there's 4 houses total: House of Sky and Breath, House of Many Waters, House of Flame and Shadow. And I'm wondering, there's gonna be 4 books. I'm thinking maybe 5, because one for each of the houses and a last one where it's something new is gonna happen. I don't know. I really hope it's a long series. I really enjoyed this one. I would easily give it at least a 9 out of 10. I think there are some things with Sarah's writing. She has a couple buzzwords and a couple phrases that she repeats a lot, and would it be a Sarah J. Maas book if she didn't use those words? Would the writing technically be better if it wasn't there? Yeah. Would I miss it though? I think I would. I think I'd miss it. This one, in terms of world building, I struggled with a little. Struggled is the wrong word. It felt a little exposition-y in the beginning, especially through the dialogue. They were catching us up. And then there were some things that happened in the end as well that felt could have been a little smoother. I just don't think it was handled as smoothly as Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass is my only kind of point of comparison. I've not read ACOTAR yet. I'm going to try not to compare it, but there were a couple little points I had that I do think are interesting. I don't know, Throne of Glass was just this slowly kind of learning what's going on and piecing bits together, and there was a wider story at play, which is, I'm sure, gonna happen here as well. I can already feel it coming, and I loved the way she did that, the way slowly pieces of the puzzles kind of fit in place as you went on with that series, and it was so clever the way it was done, and there's so much potential for it to happen here, and I'm so excited. I mean, the thing with Throne of Glass as well was you read book 1 and you're like, oh, okay, I think I know what's gonna go down here, and then no, really that was more of a prelude to book 2, where you really understand what's gonna go down, and then it doesn't really start happening until book 3, and then book 4 is when it actually kicks off. I'm so excited to watch how this series plays out. There's so much potential. I've heard complaints about the world building. You're really thrust in there. People described it as confusing. They didn't understand what was going on, and they still didn't understand what was going on by the end. By the end of the book, I think I had a pretty good idea of the world. I still have questions, but I think that's purposeful. I don't think we're supposed to know everything yet. I think it's room for us to kind of build theories and have these questions revealed to us in later books. It's only book 1. And I I felt fine with the world building. I felt like I was slowly piecing things together, and the things that are relevant will stay. If it doesn't stay, it's not relevant. Or it won't be yet, at least, and it will be re-explained when it does come up again. It kind of has an urban fantasy feel to it, this one, because we're in a city. We're in Crescent City, and that's something else I'm really excited to kind of learn more about the rest of the world and what's going on in the rest of the world. That's what I have most of my questions about. There's only a map of Crescent City in here, but I want a map of Midgard, the world as a whole. We can't spend the whole series in Crescent City. We're gonna have to explore. They keep mentioning this other continent, which is where there's a lot of fighting happening between the humans and the Vanir, because the humans are sick and tired of being at the bottom. Called Pangaea. It's kind of like Pangea. When they describe it, it gave me like Middle Eastern vibes, but I have no idea why. Anywho, we keep mentioning that, and that's where the archangels are based, the big ones, the ones that are in charge. The council have like archangels below them that are like the mini rulers of like little territories, like for instance Crescent City. There's like the big cheese and how Crescent City is ruled, and so there's a lot of room for, okay, well, how does the rest of the world work? I've loosely explained the premise of the world. Oh, it feels like an urban fantasy. I never finished that point. It feels like an urban fantasy because we're in like a modern day city. There's like cell phones and motorbikes and cars and guns. I kind of slipped every now and then because it was so fantasy heavy, like I would forget. It took a while to get used to, but I think I got there in the end. Like I was imagining small streets, not roads with cars on it a lot of the time. Really fun aspect, and it is a world full of flavor and color, and it's very rich. Okay, so how would I synopsize this? It has like a mystery vibe going through. One of the things that was handled a little less well, because I didn't come up with many theories as to what was going on with the mystery one, and the ones I did where it turns out more overarching things and not actually relevant yet. I don't think it was a lot of, for me, characters having to explain to me what's going on, and then when they get on new theory, explain their new theory. Like I wasn't able to piece very much of it together, but that could just be because I was concentrating so hard on the characters and the world that the mystery kind of got away from me at times. I don't think I want to give you any more of a synopsis. I think it established itself within the first 100 or so pages, like what this is gonna be about. It's an adult fantasy. I don't know if I said this. Yeah, it just has a little bit more adult content in it. I really enjoyed that aspect. She had more room to play because it was adult. I audiobooked this. The same narrator that narrated Throne of Glass narrated this one. She is so good. Her accents, she's learned some new ones since I've heard her do an audiobook last. Her English accent was so much fun, and the voices, she's so good at doing such distinct voices for everyone. Like in Throne of Glass, I think a couple of them merged a little bit for me. I didn't mind. You can only make your voice sound so different, but every single character sounded distinct. I loved that. She was so good. I also maybe think that might be why I didn't struggle as much with the world building, because I was being told it didn't feel so threatening that I have to figure everything out. Kind of just slowly listen to this person tell me what's going on. I love the cover though. I will say that really quickly. I like how it looks. Naked. I love how detailed the art is and the colors. I really like it. I keep thinking in my mind that the next one's gonna be blue, and I don't know if that's because Akatar is throwing me off, but I keep imagining it blue. I mean, if we're going down it's gonna be named after the next house, Sky and Breath. What's it gonna be? White? Grey? Because House of Many Waters would make sense for it to be blue. Flame and Shadow. I guess Flame and Shadow could be black. That'd be cool. Anyway, so that is all I have for the non-spoilery section. If you haven't read Crescent City yet, I suggest you leave, because I'm gonna talk about everything that happened in this book. I'm gonna start with like a little glossary overall of some of the things we learned, so that in the future, if I forget them before book 2 comes out, I can come back and refresh myself. We have the archangels on top, and they make the Asteri, and they're like the overall big bad governors, and there's 6 of them, and we have that teenage dude. Apparently he's in the body of a teenager, but he's really old. He's like the big cheese is what I was gathering. Like Bryce calls him the mightiest or something. What's his name? Ridge Dust. I audiobooked this. We have the Asteri, and then we have the Triari. Now, are the Triari and the 33rd the same? Because I didn't think they were, but then I went on like the fandom website of Crescent City last night just to like clear a couple things up. They said that the 33rd and the Triara are the same, and I thought they were different. The 33rd is like the police force, I guess, for the angels. Like each faction, it can't be each faction of Vanir though, because there are so many of them, and like not all of them even have, like, there's no coven of vampires in Crescent City, but yeah, vampires exist. But it feels like a lot of the bigger ones, like the Viper Queen has her own army, the Mer people have their own army, the wolves have their packs. It's funny how there's so many shifters and yet there's like this whole thing of wolves, so many wolves, that there's like a thing with the wolves. And the Fae obviously have their own, and so that's the one that belongs to the angels, but because it belongs to the angels and the angels are in charge, I think of them as the police force. But then there are kind of lots of separate police forces, but I guess all the little separate ones have to ultimately bow down to the 33rd Legion. I thought the Triari was more like the guards, because we have Sahar and she has her own Triari with like Pollux and the hammer and blah 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 blah. Is the Triari just like a top tier level of guards of angels, or is it the same as the 33rd? Then we have the Orcs, the auxiliary, I'm guessing that's short for, I can't remember now. I finished this yesterday. And they belong to the Fae, and they live in Fyro, something, Rose, oh damn it, 5 Roses. And then we have Moonwood and the Wolves Den, and they have their own packs. They might have a name. The wolves sounded like they had a lot of control as well. Are they like next under their Fae maybe? We have the meat market, and that is ruled by the Viper Queen. She's a shifter, but it sounded like, especially in the end, the way her army was still fighting, the meat market has a lot of humans in it, so it sounds like she kind of sticks up for the humans maybe? She's a really interesting character. I loved that scene when we went and met with her. She wasn't in this one very much, which makes me hope that she'll be in the later ones more. She has potential to become interesting. We have Asphodel Meadows. I think that's human land as well though, because when Bryce was running there at the end, she was going to the meadows. Central Business District, CBD. They kept saying CBD and I was like, wait, the drug? CBD, that's where the angels set up. I think those are the big ones. Oh, and then there's the Bone Quarter with the Underking. Jessica pledged herself to him. She went there on his behalf at the big conference thing, the summit. Is she a sorceress? What even is she? I can't remember. She's not a witch anymore because she used to be, and she signed herself over. The fact that Jessica was brought up in the end, like, I didn't know how shady she was, like how much we could trust her, because she walked the line very well. There were times where she seemed like she might care, and the fact that she still has this library, and this library is so important. I don't know, because the archangels just don't listen to any of the proof. It seems that the humans have that life existed before them and that they are intelligent creatures on their own and that they can handle themselves. It seems like they're just like, psh, lies. So how are they going to use this library to their advantage if the archangels are just going to be like, psh, lies, like they were back in the beginning? Maybe there's going to be something in there that's going to prove that it's not lies. Oh, we don't know what Fury was. It was never, like, discussed. We know she's Vanir, but we never find out what exactly she is. Like, that was a big thing. The fact that we don't know is gonna have to be something either important or shocking. Oh, I'm excited about that. I loved Fury when she came out on the boat when the drug deal was going down. Really like this whole Victoria. They kind of had like a similar vibe going, and it's really sad that she's now in the ocean, but the fact that she's in the ocean and she didn't die like that other angel did makes me think maybe there's hope for us to go get her and have her back, because she was cool. She was a wraith, wasn't she? She can like change bodies. It's cool. And we have different gods as well going on. There's Chthona was mentioned a few times. Erd was mentioned. Over here we've got Ogenes. I don't think that was ever said in the audiobook. Luna, Solus. We don't really know what each of them do yet. It wasn't ever explained. They just kind of plopped in, like, do different people pledge themselves to different gods? Like, how does it work? All came through the rift, right? And so I think it says they come from different worlds. And they all seem to have their own customs and mythology, maybe? Like, do they share religion? Did they all come here and under the archangels' rule? Like, who implemented these gods and stuff as well? Was it the archangels? Because I bet it would be. Or did, like, the hodgepodge of different creatures kind of create this system? Like, it seems like some of their old customs have come through with them. We have, like, this whole Starborn malarkey. I did not see that Bryce was going to be Starborn coming. I was pretty sure that she wasn't going to be powerless. And I knew that trip with Danica, where she said close her eyes and she said that she'd killed people before. Something big happened there, like that she was telling Danica to close her eyes. I didn't see that she was going to be like the chosen one. And this whole thing with the chosen one, like Bryce says there's multiple Starborn people. So who strewed this story that there was a chosen one? Was it the king, the Autumn King, to make it sound like his son is the biggest bestest. And I think there might be more behind him getting the sword, because how did he get the sword if he's not the chosen one? Obviously, Bryce saying there's multiple Starborn people, there's no like chosen one. He is Starborn still, he does have a little bit of that magic, but his thing is more the shadows, and I think they are going to be able to play off each other with the light and the shadows really nicely. I think that will become a thing. I wonder if Bryce might even be able to help Rune to harness his starlight power a little bit better, maybe. I think there's a lot of backstory there that we don't have. We get a few names like Peleus, and at the end we find out that Bryce has Thea's light, and that there's a backstory there with Jessica and Adis. I feel like there's gonna be some kind of destiny harking thing going on there. Kind of like in Throne of Glass. It was Peleus that shut the rift, isn't it, with the horn? So how come archangels rule over the Fae, even though the Fae were the ones that shut the rift? Like, I think there's an interesting relationship with the Fae and the angels as well that can be explored further. Because there were these old wars, it sounds like, when the rift first opened, especially with the demons and the princes of hell. There's definitely backstory with, like, the war and the Fae and the angels, and there's more there. And with the Starborn thing, it would be interesting to see how Jessica fits in it, because not only does Adis know Hunsad, but Jessica knows him better. What's going on with her? Like, I really don't know. And like, can we trust her? Can we trust the Underking? I don't know. And the whole hell thing, the way there's different layers, and punished the demons for escaping and going into Midgard. Like, we don't know hell's intention. We assume it's bad because it's hell, but it might not be. There's a lot of room there for things to be interesting. The thing about the Fae losing their power as well, I'm wondering if there's something going on there. If it's not so that they're losing their power, but it's being smothered by someone, like an intentional power move, maybe by the archangels, is what I'm thinking. Surely all the Vanir, other than archangels put together, like, I know an archangel has like the power of a star within them, and so they can like literally shatter worlds, but surely if all the Vanir banded together, like, why are there all these heads that just bow? Like, they seem quite powerful. Just want to know how the archangels established that they're on top and how they set up this world. I think there's a lot of meat to chew there. How is the rest of the world governed? Because we know in Crescent City we have like an Autumn King and a River Queen and a Viper Queen and Under King and the Prime of the Wolves. It's interesting, one, that it's those particular Vanir. Like, vampires is the big one, but probably other, like, necromancers, I guess, bow down to the Under King. I don't know, I keep coming back to vampires. Maybe they also bow down to the Under King. That's probably more likely, actually. Is there one per house? Hang on a second. The witches would be Earth and Blood. The Viper Queen would be... No, because we have two sets of shifters with the Viper Queen and with the wolves. Shifters are in Earth and Blood, so the witches and the shifters, the Viper Queen and the wolves are in one house. Then we have the Fae and the angels. Is this the same in every city? Does every city have like a head of the Fae and a head of the wolves? We have this undercurrent of human rebellion, and Danica being a human sympathizer. The more we found out Danica was involved, the more I was convinced that she was doing this purposefully to help the humans. It doesn't seem like that was the case, and I don't know how much of her we're gonna get in the other books, because it seems like she's gone now. Bryce, she's not there yet. She was so appalled by what Hunt did when he did the drug bust. My mouth dropped open. Like, I wasn't heartbroken. I've heard some people got all hot and bothered about that. I didn't care as much because I was still very much rooting for him and his cause. Like, I was completely disgusted about how everyone was treated, and like, Bryce sees it. She sees how her mother is treated. She sees how she is treated because she's half human, and she knows that archangels are disgusting and wrong. She's not a human sympathizer. It doesn't seem to be. Like, I know that obviously Briggs and stuff are extreme, and that's not necessarily the way to go around about it. But the war, she doesn't seem like she sympathizes with the humans as much as she should do, all things considered. Like, I was just so on board the whole time and thinking, like, we need to get Hunt back on his thing. And I knew he was never going to give it up, and I could see that he was going to do it again at some point. I didn't see it happening so soon, because it seemed like he had this deal with Micah going, and that he was going to be free, and then he was going to do something about it. But I guess because I was so in that headspace when he did that drug deal, and it made sense that he tried to call it off because he saw saw the trial, he didn't know that's how it would end up. He just wanted to have his power back to overthrow them. And the fact that he has the lightning abilities, it says about how like no one else has lightning abilities and how crazy powerful it is. I didn't catch on to the fact that like his daddy is gonna be like, I thought his daddy might be like an archangel or someone. It seems like it's alluding to like a prince of hell or maybe even a demon or something in that vein. So I was spoiled. I knew that Danica died. I also knew that people loved her, so I assumed like it was a big spoiler that she dies at the end. And so when she died at the beginning, I was equally relieved it wasn't as massive a spoiler as I thought, and also confused. I didn't care enough about her at that point. I was shocked though. Don't get me wrong, I was shocked. And the friendship, the way it develops across the book, even though she's not there, is so interesting. When it's at the end and she has her hand on the gate and she's asking for anyone's help so she can make the drop so that her first light can heal the city and heal, hunt and scare away all the demons. And we heard Danica say light it up. Instant is like light it up, like she's literally about to light it up. So did Danica know? All the oracle told her was through love all is possible, which is a saying, and that's how Bryce makes it back to the top, because Danica gave her last little bit of energy up to get Bryce to the top. The tears and the fact that it's Sabine, the bitch Sabine that says it. Sabine's a very complex character and I'm excited to get to know her better. It's so interesting because there are points in this book where I literally wanted to kill her. When she ordered for Hunt to have the eternal death, the immortal death, whatever it was, I was so mad. I was like, this bitch has to go. The way she was so obsessed with the sword over Danica. But then she was really offended when they implied that she had killed Danica. Like, she's very complex. I love it. And she is the one to say through love. It's like we finally got through to her. It'd be interesting to see what her and Bryce's relationship is like after this. So the oracle said to Danica, through love all is possible. That came to fruition in her using up her last bit of energy to get Bryce to the top. Or so it seems. Or so like maybe she'll come back through love later on. Like maybe if we're not done with her yet, something else will happen down that vein. But the fact that they always said light it up, and like obviously it does make sense for like partying and drugs and whatnot, but when she said it then I was like, she's literally about to light up the city. Did she know? Because she like got the horn tattooed onto Bryce's back. When we found that out okay, so we have the horn and the demon. That's the whole mystery, like what's going on here. And so with the drug bust, that's like the first really solid theory where everything clicks into place. That the Crystallos demon just so happens to be summoned when someone has a high because of the salt and the drug, they can't control it. Which was weird to me because why is it always that one demon? Why is it not just like a random demon? And we know that the Crystallos was designed to hunt the horn. In hindsight, it doesn't make any sense. But at the time, I was just like, sure, whatever, Hunt, whatever you say. We now know that it was Micah summoning the demon to find the horn and kind of kept going after Bryce, but she had the necklace. It was only when she took the necklace off that it actually attacked her. The other time when it attacked Hunt because he smelt like the horn from Danica's jacket, which Bryce had been wearing. Why did the demon attack Mike in the beginning then? What was going on there? I guess he just didn't know how to control it. Maybe he smelt like the horn, but he hadn't touched the horn. Maybe he had touched Danica's jacket again. Maybe Danica still smelled like the horn, maybe because he was in her apartment he smelled like the horn. That's a little weird. And the fact that Bryce saved Micah, like that made so much sense then why Bryce was on the case. Like it made sense that because she knew Danica, but like he wasn't experienced enough. So then the fact that we found out she saved Micah, and when that bombshell was revealed, took so long for us to find that out. The way things tied together. So good. The way, like, just all these themes, and they all came to fruition. Little things you don't think are even relevant in the beginning, but boy, are they relevant. Like the tattoo that she was complaining about in the beginning. Cynthia's even mentioned in the beginning. And right before Fury says it, like, when we see her again, I was like, hang on a minute. Fury warned you about Cynthia in the beginning, and then Fury said it, and I was like, yeah! The way things came together was so good. Anyway, where was I? The whole mystery with the horn. Hunt is spilling this spiel about how Danica was addicted to synth, which again, in hindsight, she had seen the trial, so she knew the risks. She wasn't stupid. We don't know how long she's been working with Redner Industries. I thought that kid that she was dating in the beginning was going to come back into play. That felt like it could have. Maybe it will again. I don't know. Maybe it's just like reinforcing the fact that Danica was associated with them because she was the one that set them up. Danica being associated with Redner Industry, I mean. So it didn't make sense that Danica would take this drug knowing what happened in the trial. But again, it was believable. It wasn't too far from what could actually happen. And we knew that Sabine had been a pain in her ass. And the fact that she had killed the pack and then killed herself. I can't remember what Micah said exactly, but he did give her the drug and she did rip herself apart, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if she did it to the pack as well. And like she was living in shame down there, and like when we found out that, it clicked. That's why she's living in shame, because she killed herself and the pack. The fact that Bryce gave up her spot in the Bone Quarter for Danica because she didn't know if she'd make it, and I the whole time was like, why would you do that, Bryce? Like, do you have so little faith in your friend? I guess she has done some dodgy stuff, and in the end it's good that she did. And now it seems like Danica's gone because she didn't wave at the end when they waved at the end, and she was home. She texted Connor to say she was home. My heart. It seems like Danica's gone. Does that mean Bryce can now have her place in the Bone Quarter? Is this gonna become an issue? Or is Bryce just like all powerful, so she's just gonna live forever, it's just gonna be fine? Because I don't think Sarah would just like leave it like that. How many times? Oh, Danica was just a particle, Bryce was just a particle, and it was proved that Danica's smarter than that. She's nicer than that. They went to do that animal bus because she cared about those animals. Bryce, she's so much cleverer than people think. She's so much more capable than people think. The way she was like putting together pieces of the puzzle, and even through Hunt's games, she still knew she was onto something with the synth. So the fact that Bryce was just again putting her in the party girl box didn't feel right. I didn't sit well with me. I was like, fine, I accept this, but I don't like it. I don't think this is all of the story. Like, it can't be. We had 200 pages left at that point. So then when we find out that it was really Micah after all, everything just made so much more sense. It just clicked into place. He had been summoning the demon to find the horn because he wants to open up more realms to get an army for people to bow down. Because he wanted to be in the Asteri. Right, but he doesn't have, it seemed like he had the power of Star. So what's the difference between the Asteri and the regular Archangels? Like, for so much of the book, I thought they were the big bad. Like, we heard about the Asteri, but because we didn't see them, I didn't think they were that big of a threat. I thought, like, Micah's the big threat and Sandra's the big threat. And I think it was genius the way this was done, because we just didn't see the Asteri. And then we see the Asteri, and they're like 10 times worse. It's like, oh no, they're the big bad. Sandra and Micah are nothing. They're both gone. So what's the difference between the Archangels and the Asteri? Because they had a conversation about that. I'll probably look over it again. And Bryce said, just because you're powerful, just because you have an army, doesn't mean the Asteri will accept you. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's like a genetic thing, it sounded like. And Mike was convinced that no, it will work. The fact that he just thought he was going to summon a world and get, like, the logistics of it, how you can't just assume that whoever lives there is going to automatically bow down to you. Like, how's that going to work? You need to contact them and arrange it beforehand. The one thing I will say with that section is it was kind of like, and I know she was doing it to save time. Oh, let me just stand here and reveal my evil plan and assume that there's no cameras in this very old library. Because Jessica, the woman who has cameras everywhere, like, it didn't seem very well thought through. He just assumed that it would work. I think the Asteri would have backed him up, and like Sandra was going down that way and the way that they tried to bomb this city. But like they said, he went rogue. So there was the chance that the Asteri could punish him. He just put a lot of eggs in one basket there. It's interesting because he's not as bad as Sandra, and he's not the Asteri, and he had this deal with Hunt. I thought maybe he's kind of nice. Maybe we're going to be able to turn him onto our side here. Do we think there's a connection to Akatar and Throne of Glass? Because we know from Kingdom of Ash that their Akatar and Throne of Glass exist within the same multiverse. So it has to be within the same multiverse. I can't see how it's not. Which means, does this mean we're gonna get to reunite with the characters we know and love again? And I do know that in Akatar we have different courts. I've seen the map. I have the books. I'm gonna read them soon. And they're based on different seasons. What would you know? There's an Autumn King in this book. Is that linked in any way, shape or form? Like, is there a Spring King or King in Midgard in this world? The Fae can't shift like they can in Throne of Glass. But when they do shift, the shifters, they shift with a thing of light. Like the Fae do in Throne of Glass. I think I've gone over like the big stuff with the horn and the drug. The drug still gonna be around. I think Redner Industries is gonna start to play a bigger role now that we have the antidote, especially because why would we even bother with the antidote if it's not gonna be a continuing thing? It's interesting how the Asteri, they just threaten Bryce a lot. They're like, but you can live your happy merry life. Struggle to believe that they're never gonna want anything to do with the horn, especially if these humans keep being a pain in their ass. And now that they know that library exists, or do they not know? Maybe they don't know the library exists. But if like some kind of rebellion, which it must come up, this must be like the bigger thing here. I said that though with a couple things in Throne of Glass, and it turns out they weren't the bigger thing here. but it's gonna be something to that effect. The temptation to go back to wherever they came from and get more archangels in. I think even if Bryce and Hunt do live out their happy little lives and behave, which I don't think they are gonna behave, but even if they do, I just can't see Ysteri not intervening. And it seems like even with Hunt's crazy lightning abilities and Bryce's light, that's not going to be enough to stop them. First light stuff was really interesting. Like I said, I loved the urban twist with this, and I love how it came into play in the end, and the whole drop thing, the drop and the ascent. I loved that. I love that concept. It's so cool. I loved the point of views in this book and how different and solid they seemed. Like in Throne of Glass, we were in different perspectives, but it felt a little bit more third person-y than close third person at times. It didn't feel as solid, I don't think, as they did here. We knew from Hunt's perspective that he would always call Rune the cousin, and he had all these assumptions. We kept calling them particles, and it was like, oh yeah, there she's drinking her vodka or whatever, and it was water. We knew that it was water because we knew that Bryce doesn't drink. I think that's the shady stuff with Hunt. His wrong assumptions, and he apologized for it and stuff, I think, and they got past it, but then he still thought that Danica was this crazy party girl, so it's not completely gone. So is this going to cause problems in the future? I think they need to work on that a little bit more. I loved how much he wanted to look after her. I loved it when he ordered her food and she got really mad. I loved it when he would like make her breakfast. Like, I loved he gave her the opal and how he realized that Bryce is going to be a much healthier relationship from him, because he was only really in it for the cause and she wasn't kind of in it for the right reasons either, maybe. And I think there's going to be more stuff with the sister, his ex. I loved Hypaxia. She was so great, and like the fact that we didn't know her name was really suspicious. I was like, oh no, I really like them together. Like, it's sad that he's gonna have to marry this witch chick, and then it was her. I love how down to earth she is. I love how she was like gonna go and fight. She was just so great. I'm excited to see more of her. Oh my god, when Hunt asked her to open the curtains at the very beginning so you could watch the show, I love that. Just the banter. And this section when she looked after Hunt was great, and then the morning after in the kitchen, like, it was the hottest scene in the book for me. It was great. And the fact that we have a Star Eater and he's one of the princes of the pit, and there's the Starborn, like, there's definitely history there. And I'm wondering if maybe is Hunt the descendant of the Star Eater, the nemesis of the Starborn, like a forbidden love. I mean, not really, but like, they technically shouldn't, is that what's gonna happen here? There are a few small repetitions throughout, like, Briggs's punishment was brought up a lot, and like, look to where it hurts the most was repeated a lot for a section. Like, I like the repetitions of stuff like that, and I think it works, like the way her books kind of have these puzzle pieces and they slowly slot together. And so I think it's necessary, but there was a while where it was repeated a lot. I wrote here there are 5 gods, so at some point maybe it mentioned there are only 5 gods. Can't see that not becoming a bigger thing. And like, are they from the same realm as the gods from Throne of Glass? Do they also want to be free? Oh, and when we found out that she had the Starborn power, like, how much sense it made. Like, what could blind an oracle? And that was something that was, like, plaguing me. And I assumed it must have been something bad. And I knew it was, like, that wasn't all between her and Moon. I knew there was something more in what she saw. I didn't put it together, though. It was so cool how we had lots of these clues. And I was, like, close with some of them. But I wasn't quite right, which is the best. The night garden scene. I hope we go there again. That was cool. I was expecting it to be this really chill romantic scene. It sounded like they were gonna have a heart-to-heart. Maybe some romance. And then the demon just comes flying in. I was like, well, maybe not. The amount of times like I gasped or my mouth fell open and was just like shocked with so many times. My notes started off like reasonably okay, and then the more they go on, the more intense they get. And like the whole Danica stealing the horn, like they suspected Sabine for a while. Again, it didn't fit well with me. It didn't seem right. Like, I could see why they were thinking it, but it didn't fit well, and it's because they were wrong. And then like Danica stealing the horn didn't make sense until we found out that Micah kind of blackmailed her to do it. I still want to know why would she do that, unless she was onto him, wasn't she? So she's like, yeah, I'm gonna take it, but I'm not gonna give it to you, you're suspicious. Danica was so good. She was so good, and like I didn't realize I cared about her as much as I did until Bryce made the drop, and I was like, wow, I care. Rune was like, there must be something more between them. And the fact that they were just friends, and it shows how powerful a friendship can be, and we have like soulmates. They don't have to be romantic. I loved how strong that bond is and everything it stood for. We have a lot of complexity with her mother as well, because her mother's the reason I think Bryce is so wary of alpha holes, and like even Danica had that heart-to-heart with her down there, and said, just because there's a person up there waiting who just so happens to be a man, like, it's clear that she has issues. And it stems back from her mother, it has to. But like, her mother seemed to be very much pushing on, like, seeing you with Hunt makes me think of your dad and what happened, and like that made Bryce feel really bad. Her mother doesn't know Hunt. He doesn't know how swell of a guy, and I was worried that like Bryce was then going to start changing her mind about Hunt. But there's definitely stuff going on there. And the Autumn King, he came and talked to Bryce at one point, like, what's going on there? Does he really genuinely love her mother? Like, does he genuinely feel remorseful? In the end, he seemed scared of the fact that she might die. I think there's room for them to make amends there. Be interesting to see what actually happens, what his motives actually are. And like, I'm wondering, because he was worried about Faye's power waning, and we all assumed it was because he wants to be all powerful and stuff. But I'm wondering if maybe there's a bigger reason there. If he doesn't like the angels as well, he could easily be swayed to join the Cools. I loved the quote about the mirrors. That was really nice. They kept calling each other friend for a while. Are they endgame? Because I know how Sarah likes to swoop in with other guys when we least expect it, and like, I love the idea that you can have multiple loves, and this was really big in Throne of Glass. I don't know so much about Akatar, though I've heard things, but like, I kind of want Hunt and Bryce to be endgame. I was shipping them hardcore. They've been through so much, and I think they can really bring out the best in each other with time. And so them constantly calling each other friends, like, again, it reinforces that thing of like how soulmates can be friendships. But I was like, is this an omen? I don't want it to be. It'd be interesting to see what happens with the current wolf leader. It begins with an A. I hated her too. I think she has potential to be turned good and for us to forgive her. Ethan, I loved Ethan. I loved him so much, and I'm so excited to see their relationship fixed and him to be a bigger character. I knew that they couldn't end on bad terms, and they're gonna fix the relationship. I mean, it was kind of on Bryce on that one, because she did ignore him when his brother just died. He was young, he needed someone, and was too busy all up in her own grief to care. Bryce kind of annoyed me at times. Like, I liked her, I like her as a protagonist, I liked her as a character. Don't love her as much as Selena. To be fair, I don't love Aelin as much as I love Selena. But like, when she went and offered herself up to Sahar, what are you thinking? And then like, she was like so mad at Rune, was like, I hope I never see you again. Like, calm down. One, dramatic much, and two, like, what are you thinking? I'm so glad Rune was there. Like, the melted necklace, I knew that had to mean something, and it ended up being a reference to the Crystallos demon, and that's why he could get to her. I loved Runel. He kind of reminded me of Aedion. Wow. It's been 2 months and I can't remember how to pronounce his name. Aedion. I'm pretty sure it's Aedion. Who I love. I love Aedion. And I really hope that we do get to see these characters interact with her other characters from other worlds, because I think a conversation between Rune and Aedion could be a lot of fun. It would either go really well or really horribly. I want to see how that would go. And their relationship kind of feels like it's going in the same direction as Aedion's and Selena's. They kept saying that Bryce is the only princess of the Autumn King, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought Rune was his only son, but they never say that. So has he had sons in the past that have died? Ooh. Why was there so much emphasis on her being the only princess? Like, that just felt too flippant and too like, psh, for that not to mean anything. I love all of Rune's friends as well, and I think there's potential for them to be really cool characters. Sarah's really good with hosts of really cool characters, and I'm just so excited to see them all develop and watch their journeys and see what happens to the world. I'm just so invested already, and it's only book 1. Oh, Lahaba. See, she kind of annoyed me at times, so I enjoyed her as a character, and like, it was like a fun, like, oh, you're so annoying kind of way, but like, I wasn't devastated. But it was really sweet the way she like died for her friends when she was free. Oh, Bryce. The way she killed Micah. Chekhov's gun. It's literally a real example of Chekhov's gun. You can't put a gun on a wall without then someone shooting that gun by the end. And like, I had completely forgotten about it until it was brought up in the end. And then she cut him in half. She set him on fire just to make sure he didn't heal, and then just casually vacuumed him up, and they're just all sitting watching. It was kind of like, why has no one moved? Why aren't we even trying to get there? And I know Sandra like ordered them not to, but she left the room for a while. They could have done something. And then even then it took them a while to get out, and everyone just kept saying, oh, we have protocols, can't save the humans, obviously Hypaxia and the Mer people didn't do that, and the Viper Queen fault. It's really just like Sabine and the Autumn King that weren't there immediately to support the humans and to help. I can see it. I can see them being turned, and I can see an uprising of like all of Aenair against the Archangels. I think they're gonna have to use the horn to get help to fight the Archangels. I can't the horn will have to come up again. It has to. And we talk so much about the rift and how other worlds open. And if we can go into other worlds, how could Sarah resist the temptation to pull in some people we know and love? It'd be interesting to learn more about the witches and see if they're in any way similar to the witches from Throne of Glass. Maybe they're a little bit like the Crockens, because they're definitely not the Iron Teeth. I loved when Ethan went to help Bryce in the end, and when the Prime was like, there's one wolf out there. All the canines, all the foxes and the dogs were running to help, because that's what canines do. I cried. I couldn't help it. I'm a dog person. I love the puppies, and I loved that line. I'm so excited. It was so good. There were like a few little things with the writing, which is maybe why it's a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10, but I loved it. And this is book 1. There's room to grow from here. Like, I didn't think that Throne of Glass started getting phenomenal until book 4. The fact that they just automatically opened up straight to hell, it wasn't like a big rift in the sky, potential for things to happen there. The fact that it opened up to hell actually, rather than a rift in the sky, and it happened through the gate, sounds like hell's done that before. Has this got anything to do with Adis and Jesper? Did they plan this? Like, it sounds like they have plans. I'm also wondering if there's more to the gates that we see, and I know they were hardcore established in the beginning and obviously they came up in the end. The fact they're over the ley lines of power, and obviously that's why her drop was artificial and they didn't think she was going to make it. It'd be interesting to see how much power Bryce has if the drop affected that at all. That is everything I have for this video. Please let me know down below if you've read Crescent City, what you thought. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye!